You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama and Tennessee syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international, and oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to Tuesday. It's like Tuesday all day long. It's always about food, so we call it Taco Tuesday. Play some of that.
But more importantly, y'all know what today is, right? It's Taco Tuesday!
It is indeed Taco Tuesday. Welcome to it. Now I'm wondering if Charlene's going to have tacos when I get to the house. That happens quite often, by the way.
She'll get you what...
She'll take cues, but straight from the show. You talked about it so much, I wonder how big you wanted it. Anyway, yeah, welcome to Tuesday. And by the way, that's JP pushing buttons on the board. Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm
Tuesday.
good. You're looking good in that Right Side Ruffian T-shirt there, JP.
I mean, it's funny you say that. I feel like we just opened up a merch store with this shirt.
Did we just open up a merch store?
I think we did.
I'm amazed how much stuff sold yesterday.
Yeah. Not only this shirt, but this nice little coffee mug.
You were pulling shameless plugs right now. Yeah, we did. We just opened up the Right Side merch store. I'll tell you more about that later on. It just opened yesterday and stuff started flying out. But anyway, very excited about that. Yeah, okay, so we got a great show lined up for you. Intentionally, no guests today, because the content was so thick, I just wanted to spend time on it. I wanted to unpack it. I had one dipper that I couldn't get to yesterday. I also brought it into today. So we got a great show laid on for you. Good topics, things that I feel like extremely passionate about. And so, yeah, Triple Dipper. Hit it, man.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper, 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. First out the gate, peace through strength. Yes, indeed. Y'all, it's a whole different day. I don't know if you've been watching Pete Hegseth. We were just talking right before we went on the air, Butters and JP and I, and it's just like he's just enjoying himself right now. He's just living his best life. And it's a hoot to watch, but what it also tells me is we have somebody in there who is game on and going everywhere to do the job. But it's not just what he's doing. It's like this overall sense that something's different, something's better. So peace through strength, yeah, I'm going to talk about that, part of the Triple Dipper. Number 1, as a matter of fact, on the Triple Dipper. Number 2, okay, I say it all the time. I can't say it enough. We can get really lost in what happens in D.C. We can just spend all our time focusing on what happens with federal government. But what happens in your state house, with your state legislatures, is equally important, if not more so. Sometimes it impacts your life way more than anything that could have happened in the arena of D.C. So we're going to talk about it. Every once in a while, I got to pull it up. I got to pull it together, especially when our legislatures are in session like they are right now. And we're going to cook up a batch of home fries. Home fries, that's number 2 on the Triple Dipper. And then number 3, the one I didn't get to yesterday, we all live in border states, because we do. We all live in border states. And when I say that, yes, we're feeling the impact of the illegal immigrations issues that went on just unfettered for the last few years. But what we're also watching now is states taking action at the state level to help curb the illegal immigration impacts on their citizens. So we'll talk about that because we all live in border states. That's number 3 on the Triple Dipper. All right, well, let me jump on into the opening monologue every day like I always do, the Right Side Way monologue brought to you by attorney Stan McDonald. Stan McDonald, a partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee, and he is the sponsor daily of the monologue, and I will just tell you more about Stan McDonald here momentarily. So, I don't know if you've heard the news, but y'all, the Warrior Factory is back. The Warrior Factory, that place where they take raw materials in the form of America's best and brightest young men and women and turn them into warfighters, soldiers, paratroopers, Green Berets. I'm talking about Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Fort Bragg, which for over 100 years was called Fort Bragg, and no one knew. that there was a problem. But they all liked the name. If you served there, if you mobilized for war there, if you jumped out of airplanes or swung low over the treetops with the doors open or fired artillery on the range there, you just told folks you were stationed at Bragg. Where are you at? I'm stationed at Bragg. But a few years ago, in what had to have been one of the most awful and overplayed round of virtue signaling, Fort Bragg became Fort Liberty because someone on high felt that little bitty feelings might get hurt if anyone knew that Fort Bragg was named for a former Confederate general over a century ago. Now, to be honest, I have yet to meet any soldier, especially any old soldier, who likes the name change, right? Not one. Of all stripes and ranks, of all creeds and colors, I don't know a single soldier who spent time at Bragg who was offended by the name while they were there, or basically who liked the new name either. Not a single one of us ever cared about the name, but we, by God, cared when they took it away because it became like an insult. Stripping the name away was like being told that every one of us who had passed through the gates or jumped on the drop zones or cleaned latrines in the barracks were somehow complicit in some mass systemic racism. When they changed the name, they didn't just change the sign. They slapped every Fort Bragg veteran right in the face and told them to wise up and quit being a bunch of racist extremists. That's the way it felt. But, in one of those chess versus checkers moves, the long-standing home of the 82nd Airborne, the Special Warfare Center, Army Special Forces, Civil Affairs and PSYOPs, Delta Force, and the Joint Special Operations Command, the home of warriors, it got its name back. In a classic end-around, the post is not named again for Confederate General Braxton Bragg. Nope, it's been brought back to the Bragg name, but now it's named for Roland Bragg. Really? Roland Bragg, a U.S. Army hero of World War II who earned the Silver Star at the Battle of the Bulge. And oh, by the way, he was a private. Now, why is this important? Why do we care? Well, for one, because it's about legacy. Millions of warfighters came through Bragg and they served ably. Every one of them has had to caveat their memories over the last few years with a hyphenated description of where they served. Yeah, I was at Bragg. Well, the one they call Liberty now. It's constant. So yeah, it's about legacy. Number two, it's a sign to the world that our military is actually not filled with those who whimper and simper and wring their hands about mean names that someone said could trigger their little bitty emotions. We are warfighters. We're stronger than our circumstances. Number three, let's be honest, Fort Liberty was a silly name. It sounded like somebody had a name the post contest at the local elementary school and a third grader won. So yeah, Fort Liberty, And number four, changing the name back to Bragg, it really shows that we have a leadership right now that could care less about virtue signaling. I mean, the extreme pleasure and the wry smile on Secretary Pete Hegseth's face as he signed the order is the same look that we want on every paratrooper's face when they stand in the door and put their knees to the breeze over Sicily drop zone. It's a swagger. It's like a get her done moment. It's the attitude of confident brashness that won wars for America, defeated enemies, deterred danger. And I tell you right now, the troops are going to love it. So whether it was an expeditionary fight or a battle here on U.S. soil, there have been generations of Americans who have given the full measure to ensure that the interests of others were protected above their own, and many of them went through Fort Bragg. And we should be far more resolute and state emphatically that we will never forget, nor will we allow our much vaunted military to become pawns in some social experimentation or virtue signaling. And me personally, I'll be honest with you, I feel like I've got some skin in the game. Like in the broad sense, and specifically as to those posts that have been renamed, including Fort Bragg. I feel like I can speak to the actual culture of the military. My grandfather entered the service here in Alabama at the onset of World War II. He served with distinction in the glider troops. He left home in 1942 and he came home 3 years later. He continued to serve through Korea and Vietnam. He retired after 3 decades as a general officer. Likewise, my father was a career Army officer who also entered the service right here in Alabama. My earliest memory of my dad is like a black and white movie almost. I was just maybe 2 or 3 years old, and he arrived at the house earlier than expected from his first of 2 tours in Vietnam. He was highly decorated, multiple awards for valor in combat. My own returns from Afghanistan and Iraq, they were both relieving and they were joyous. They were memories I will cherish the rest of my life as I was reunited with my family. Detoxing from life in a combat zone, it can be trying, and for the longest time, I found myself scanning the rooftops while I drove around town and having the curious habit of carrying 5 things in my left hand but nothing in my right, like I still needed to keep my gun hand free. But I came home. My son, he entered the service nearly a decade ago, over a decade actually. I've had the honor of watching him become the next of 4 generations in a row to choose voluntarily to put on a uniform. It was with real pride that I actually pinned on his airborne wings when he completed jump school, and then again when I administered his oath to join the ranks of the commissioned Army. And my son's already been away from home for training and deployments multiple times. We had a moment, too, that I'll always cherish on the day of my son's commissioning. My father, who had long since been retired, he put on his uniform, and the 3 of us went down to Nichols Hall at Auburn University to visit the Hall of Generals, where every general officer who had graduated from Auburn has their picture hanging. And the 3 of us, in uniform, stood next to my grandfather's picture, so that, in essence, I had 4 generations of my family in uniform in one picture together. 4 generations of service. 4 generations who didn't care a whit about what our post was named. 4 generations representing 85 years of continuous service to the country, and we didn't give one hoot about whether or not someone on high thought something about everything that had nothing to do with whether we would fight our nation's battles with honor and come home to our families. In the Army that my family came up through, we always saw stupid decisions from the flagpole as nothing more than stupid decisions from the flagpole. We have so much to be thankful for. At every turn in this country, we have more than what we need and much of what we want. We have freedoms, we have rights, we have security, we have so much. And the smallest and least equipped grocery store in the smallest town is better stocked than most of the shelves in the bazaars and markets around the world. The darkest alley in most U.S. cities is better than the main roads across much of the world. By and large, when we flip a switch, the lights come on, and when we turn the tap, clean water comes out. Generally speaking, we can say what we want, go where we want, worship how we want, and associate with whomever we want, but this is not by chance. This is not because of virtue-signaling politicians or hand-wringing pundits. The freedoms and prosperity that we know as a nation are made possible because of the lives of so many who put on our nation's uniforms and went to hard places to do hard things, all of whom came home changed, many of whom never came home at all. And we are free and we are kept free because of good people who went to great lengths to go to dangerous things and do them for you. And it's time that we get back to that mentality. What we're watching right now with the renaming of Fort Bragg back to Fort Bragg, it just feels right. It's like finding out that something you always believed in was actually what you knew it to be. As if some larger force just provided that kind of hand-on-the-shoulder assurance that we were actually right all along. And I believe that we're going to see more of this. And I believe that soldiers will respond. And we will get back to training young men and women to defeat and deter the enemies of this country. And we will tell those young men and women, that treasure of ours, we will tell them that if they will join the big green machine, that they will do more and see more and be more than they could ever have been. And it'll be bigger than them. It'll be why they will one day be the old guy wearing the veteran hat, saluting the flag, telling the stories, because they're proud to have done something. And many of them will now answer the question again, hey, where'd you serve? And they'll say, me? I was at Bragg. And that's a wrap for the Rightside Way. Yeah, I'm just going to tell you, Bragg is where I moved out for both my deployments. I have taken my unit there and jumped into Sicily drop zone myself. In-flight rig from Georgia all the way up. And listen, I just can't tell you how much I think it means that we've got a leadership right now that goes, we're through with the virtue signaling. I don't know if they're going to change the names of all the other posts, but they fixed Bragg, and that's just right. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Saving the world one soundbite at a time. Text lines are open. Woo, some of y'all found that out real quick. 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Text it or call it. Same number for both. We are streaming right now, not just on our multiple radio outlets, which is great across the Southeast, but we are also, by the way, streaming live on multiple platforms. So you can catch us on our website, rightsidemedia.org. You can catch us on Twitter in two different places at my @SinPhilWilliams account or at Rightside Media's account. You can also catch us now on Facebook. Whoop, whoop. We got our Facebook out of purgatory. So literally haven't had access to the Facebook page. And by the way, let me just say this. A bunch of y'all immediately yesterday started chiming in going, hey, Phil, welcome back and glad you're on and yada, yada. And I can't reply back yet. And I don't know why.
We're still working on that.
We're still working on that. But nonetheless, I am seeing them and I'm thankful and I appreciate it. And we're also up on YouTube and Rumble and we're just all over the place. But anyway, thank you all very much for supporting what we do. It's amazing too. Speaking of supporting what we do, yesterday we announced the merchandise store was open, and stuff started flying out the doors. We sold T-shirts, mugs, hats, and some of our bulletproof influence highball glasses, all in one afternoon. Like that's the first afternoon. Bam, it's open. Bam, they're like all the orders are flooding in. We're like, holy cow. So we did order limited supply for stock just because we're getting started. I think we're going to have to stock up the shelves a little different. I do have to jump in real quick before I go any further, though, and tell you about Stan McDonald. So Stan McDonald is the sponsor daily of the Rightside Way monologue. Stan McDonald, a partner at the law firm of Wilmer and Lee in Huntsville. He's a 30-year veteran, y'all, in the practice of law. And I know Stan personally. I can just tell you right now, he is not just somebody who's going to advocate for your legal needs. Stan's the kind of guy who has been like in the trenches, man. He has been in the weeds on things that we care about as right-side ruffians. Everything from politics to cultural issues. Attorney Stan McDonald, he has represented his clients in literally thousands of real estate transactions over the years. He knows how to represent you in every local, state, and federal court. And I like to say, if Stan McDonald's on your side, you will have no greater friend, and likewise, your adversaries would have no greater foe. So I'm going to tell you how to reach him. You might need an attorney. His number's coming. You ready? Stan McDonald, law firm of Wilmer and Lee. He's an America First family man, and here's his phone number, 256-479-3020. That's Stan McDonald, 256-479-3020. And tell him you heard about it on Rightside Radio. And here's the silly thing I got to do. No representation made of the quality legal service being performed is greater than the quality legal service performed with other lawyers. You know what I said.
We should submit an application for you to be like one of the TV guys that does it, at the end of commercials. Just send in a clip of you doing that. Get you a little side gig.
It's all about the side gig, man. Listen, people are already commenting on the text lines, commenting on the Twitter. We're going to catch all of it. And it's just... I think the music's about to kick in any second now, isn't it?
Yeah, about 10
seconds.
All
right, I'll get some of these text messages right afterwards. I'm curious how many of y'all were at Fort Bragg and how you feel about what I just said. I know that several of y'all, I got a bunch of 82nd Airborne vets in this particular audience. And then I got to tell you, shout out to, I'll just say Joseph, I won't say last name, who I just reconnected with on LinkedIn, believe it or not. Served on my team in Afghanistan like a long time ago. And we just reconnected like right before I came on the air, which was very cool. So if he's watching right now, shout out to you, Joseph. Good to connect with you, brother. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. Woo, goes from Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I'm talking about even that prettiest little town on the plains down yonder in Auburn. And I mean to say there's even big old patches of Georgia and Mississippi thrown in, all just for good measure. And we're glad of it. Hey, I got a text lines here I got to jump on before I get way behind. So I'll get some of y'all's input, and I will also point out to you that, yeah, we opened the merch store yesterday, the merchandise store. We got Rightside Ruffian shirts, we got coffee mugs, we got hats, we got stuff. And I'm pretty stoked about it because apparently a bunch of people bought stuff yesterday, which was very cool the first day we opened it. But here's the thing. It's only if you are signed up for our newsletter. We're giving first dibs to newsletter subscribers, and it's not like it costs you anything. We're just saying we send that out every day. It's called the Rightside Report, and it just has like general stuff about the show, gives you an advanced look at the resources that are going to be on the show, any guests that are coming. We got like the poll at the bottom every day. We got, any podcast stuff. Anyway, the Rightside Report goes out every day, and we thought, you know what? Butters had a great idea. Let's open up the store and thank those people who have been on our subscription list first. And so, yeah, all the sales yesterday were just newsletter. If you want to be on the newsletter, though, you can still get on. I mean, it's not a problem. In fact, I'll tell you what, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. That's our phone number. Just text single word, newsletter. You will get an automatic reply back giving you the chance to sign up for the newsletter. And then for the next several days, that newsletter will have you an opportunity to get into the merch store and look around and buy stuff for everybody else does, because it goes live for everybody later this week. All right, let me get some text messages. John from Harvest. Phil, great monologue. Thank you for you and your family's service. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Said, did you see, by the way, where FEMA under DHS Secretary Noam's leadership is firing 4 people, I did see that, including FEMA's CFO, for sending $59 million to New York City to put illegal aliens up in luxury hotels. Doge is thankfully exposing fraud and corruption. Yeah, you know what? What's interesting is those payments were in the hopper, and then they were told, hold on all payments, freeze on payments, no payments going out. And they did it anyway. It's like basically saying, I don't believe I have a boss. I want to do this thing. And how well does that usually work out for people in the private sector? Not that good. Thanks, John. Chef Ben from Montiana checking in. Hey, Chef Ben. He says, wow, solid monologue, Colonel. Thank you for your family service and your continued service on these here airwaves. God bless you, brother. We should all be proud to live in this free country. Yes, we should. Chef Ben, thank you very much. Jeremy from Madison says, great monologue. Thanks for your service. God bless America. Thank you, brother. David at Buc-ee's says, Phil, I retired in 1994. I don't know any of the new names, and until they change our son's birth certificate, it'll always be Fort Rucker to us. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Richard from Madison says, there is nobody who can speak to this more qualified than you, Colonel. Oh, thank you for that, man. I appreciate it. He said, I'm in total agreement with you. However, there was one change that I could get behind a little. Fort Benning being renamed Fort Moore. I agree with that. After Harold Moore seems rather appropriate. Maybe we can name the new Army post after Command Sergeant Major Plumley. Yeah. Thank you for your service and your continued service to our country and communities. Yeah, that's the one. I mean, now, granted, there's a few of them that I look at and go, that was a DEI name. But then some of them I look at and go, okay, Cavazos, that's real. Novacell, that was real. And I get it, but they still lose all the legacy. So if they change those names, I suspect what they'll do is they'll find some means of honoring those people on post with an installation or some fixture on the post. We'll see. Jim from Athens said, I got a lemon squeezer one of my uncles secured from a German soldier. Okay.
I think he told the rest of the story above that text.
Oh, there's more to it.
Yeah.
I knew there was more to it. A story, he said, I said a story. I had 2 uncles in the Second World War. They didn't know where each brother was. One day they were walking down the street on the opposite sides and saw each other. Can you imagine the reunion? Wow. He said, my dad was in the Navy at 18 years old and headed to Japan when the bomb was dropped. He's deceased, told me many stories. My hero, my dad. That is very cool. Thank you for your family service, Jim. Appreciate you. I'll get a few more. Ed P. from Huntsville says, Phil, great monologue as usual. I was never stationed at Bragg, but I made many trips there and spent time downrange with 3rd of the 27th Field Artillery. Said, I'm glad the SecDef restored the name, and I hope he does the same for every other post affected by wokeness. There you go. Thanks for your service, John. The other John from Huntsville, is this the right one? Yeah. Phil, spectacular monologue also, because that's the way he always does his text. Phil, spectacular monologue also. Did you hear that Donald Trump announced 25% tariffs on all aluminum and steel? I did. He said, is it good or bad? Because I make most of my money. What's he saying? I've lost my train of thought. I spent most of my money by taking scrap metal, mainly steel, aluminum, and copper. No, it's not going to affect you, I don't think, at all, brother. This is talking about imports. So I don't think you're importing just to scrap it. I think you're still going to have your scrapyard just as well as anything. And do tariffs work? Well, go ask Canada, Mexico, and Colombia how they responded to the threat of tariffs. I think that there might be some pain with China, especially at first, but I think we're going to get things worked out. And I think that the threat of tariffs are just part of, I said it on another radio show this morning, they're just part of the 4-part acronym of DIME. I say it all the time, but it's true. DIME, diplomacy, intelligence, military, and economic. Those are the 4 things you have to be able to force project in order to have your foreign policy impactful in the world. This is the E, the economic. And I think this was, we'll see how it plays out. But right now, I think it's going to work. And John, I don't think it's going to affect you.
By the way, I had a couple of comments on the stream.
Yeah, what you got?
Well, first off, on the Facebook stream, Jason Haggard said, Happy Taco Tuesday, Mega Nation. So there you go. But then we also had a YouTube comment from First Round By, is his username. He said, why didn't they just choose another veteran's name other than Bragg?
Because the point was Fort Bragg is the legacy name of the post. I mean, it's got 107 years, I believe, as Fort Bragg. And, I mean, we're talking about all the way through, right after World War I, all the way through World War II, Korea, Vietnam, up into the times of the invasion of Panama, Grenada. In fact, it was Grenada. Listen, all the units that jumped into Grenada and Panama, the bulk of them were Fort Bragg. Of course, you had the Ranger Regiment coming out of places like Hunter Army Airfield, but there was, yeah. So I think legacy is a big part of it, and it's also it's like countering the wokeness.
Yeah, well, Ed P. from Huntsville, I think it's Eddie P. on the YouTube. He commented, "I noticed this and I thought it was a genius. Said many are complaining about the change because it is technically a different Bragg, but I think that was a genius move, as there will be no excuse for a future administration to change it back." So that's
exactly right.
They can't claim Confederate, Confederate whatever woke reason to rename it. I thought that was genius.
I think it is. I think it absolutely was. Real quick, I'll get a couple more. We got another one. We got 2 more people signed up for the newsletter, so 3 more people signed up for the newsletter. Wow, great, cool. Thomas from Athens, Colonel, thanks for that Rightside rant/witness. All of us America lovers can brag, all caps, I see what you did there, about our Commander-in-Chief and SecDef finally, and likewise for all ruffians to bless and thank y'all for generations of service. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. And then Paul from Athens says, what can be done about BlackRock and Vanguard causing house... Brother, I am not even on that topic. Thank you for texting. I don't know what to tell you. We're going to get to that another day. Yeah. And then brand new texter in the line. Tell us, it's Tony from Trinity. Hey, Tony, glad you're in the queue. I got a few minutes before I can take the break. And sitting in studio right now, military guy himself, Butters. How you doing, buddy? Let me get your microphone ready real quick. How you? I got you on. Are you not on?
Testing. 1, 2.
I don't know what to tell you. Hey, Butters, try that again. Testing. How about swing over here and grab his mic? Is he good?
Yeah, come take my mic real quick.
I'm doing great.
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Are you wearing one of our new merch hats?
I am, which I'm now not in a camera, so you can't see it.
Put that camera on the dude. Here, I'll tell you what. Let's do that.
There we go. All right. Yeah. I'm just testing out one of our
it looks good on
hats.
You.
Yeah.
It looks good on you.
It's not nearly as nice as the fitted one you gave me, but
the limited edition.
Yeah, that's limited edition.
The leather patch Rightside radio.
I'm gonna that's got I'm gonna let the equity build in that one.
Hey, let me ask you, man. All your time as a naval aviator, how do you feel right now watching? I mean, just as an outsider looking in, but with some skin in the game, how do you feel about what you sense so far in terms of morale and where we're going with readiness and just the general sense of the military with the new leadership?
I wouldn't mind going back in for a few more years.
No doubt.
It's great to see see him. I think he's doing the right stuff. He's focusing on the boots.
Hegseth?
Hegseth,
Yeah.
yep. SecDef, whether it's working out with guys or
Yeah.
I think those are the things that he's got to rebuild that connection. Because the folks that are going to fix this are going to be at the lower levels, quite honestly. So that's a long conversation to get into all the mid rank and all that kind of stuff. But
Well, if they start firing generals, then there's going to be some room to grow. If you know what I'm saying.
So yeah, I mean, getting down to your your E4s, E5s, E6s, and getting in the room with your O3s, your O4s. That's what's going to fix this stuff.
And I'm going to be the first to admit, and I've said it before on the show, when I first heard Pete Hegseth had been tapped for nomination to SecDef, I was like, Hegseth, the Fox News guy, and then I thought, well, is this like a Hollywood version of what's going to? But I started looking into his, and I already knew his positions because I've heard him talk many times. But then I began looking at his actual resume, and I thought, okay, this could work. And then the more I saw him actually begin to posture for the job, and I think he's relaxed, but I don't think he's relaxed yet because he's actually walking around with a kind of a serious look on his face a lot that I didn't see before. But it's because I think he realizes the gravity of his job.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of his. He did the Q&A sessions and addressing troops, and you could kind of see it looked to me like it's one of those, like, the realization of, oh, I'm actually the man now, right? Like, it's one thing to talk about it, to go through all that he went through, but then you standing there in front of the room, he made a comment about O10s or something like that, and he was like, oh, like it as he's talking about it, he's realizing I'm in charge of everyone now, which is pretty cool. I mean,
including the O10s.
Yes. And he's handling all of it.
And all the GS99s and their mafia.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely am encouraged, and I think you're going to see morale just go through the roof.
I think you already are. I was talking to somebody this past weekend, and in fact, I was down at Fort Moore, this past weekend, and my sense of things right now is that there's already a different feel in the air. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
And it's one of those things. It's hard to. It's almost intangible, but it's tangible. But there is a different sense of who we are. It's kind of like there's a freshness and a renewed sense of vigor.
Well, coming from the aviation side of the house as a Navy guy, and dealing with a lot of Air Force pilots, and it was particularly in the fighter community, there's a shortage of pilots. There has been for a long time, and it ain't because they're not throwing money at it. Yeah, the money doesn't do it. It's there's just something about the culture and all that kind of stuff, and I'm optimistic that that this could actually we'll start seeing those things get fixed.
I think so, and I don't know if Hegseth's going to stay in the entire 4 years of this term, but right now I'm just watching him, and while I recognize he's keeping that professional face on a lot, he's also living his best life, man.
Oh yeah, I mean this has got to be one of the coolest things. I mean, I retired as an 04. So I can put myself in his shoes, like the idea, because I'm sure, 6 years ago, was this even a thought, or 2 years ago, who knows how long this was, was this even a thought? Like, it's got to be pretty cool to go, ooh, I mean, at the same time going, there's a lot of pressure on me. But I know he's getting surrounded by a lot of good guys, and
there is, and but what I love is so far the things he said he would do, he's doing.
Yeah, which is
got to take a break.
True of all of them.
All right, we're taking a break right now. We'll come right back. I'm going to jump on in because, man, I got some stuff to cover. I'm done. Number one, the triple dipper. I'm calling it peace through strength, and I'm talking about what that means in light of where we are right now. What are the results? Are you seeing things already? I am. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. sorry. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Man. Saving the world one soundbite at a time. I'm just sitting here talking to JP. That's the bump music. We got to go on the air. Hey, JP, you got an audio clip.
Yeah.
Hegseth, let's do this. Before I even jump into the other stuff about the peace through strength, because it's not all about naming Fort Bragg. There's a lot of other things happening. But if you would, go ahead and pull up audio clip number 1. This is Hegseth himself. By the way, he was in Europe. He's there now, I guess, maybe on the way back. But he flew via C-17. And now, I'll say this. When VIPs roll in a C-17, they put in a VIP pod. It's like flying inside a hotel room. So he had a good gig. But I don't recall, and he may have, but I don't recall seeing Lloyd Austin flying in a C-17 and going up into the cockpit to sit with the crew and talking to guys who were like the load masters and others on the ramp. I mean, Hegseth is actually doing stuff that reminds people that he cares about the little guy, if you know what I'm saying.
I barely remember seeing Lloyd Austin at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen more of Hegseth this so far than I saw of Lloyd Austin ever.
And by the way, that's all the cabinet members are doing that.
Yeah.
They're all over the place. They're all like running and gunning right now.
You mean they're actually doing their job? Wow. Interesting.
Funny how that works. This morning, Hegseth did PT, by the way, with members of 10th Group, 10th Special Forces Group. I don't think Lloyd Austin does PT anymore. I'm pretty sure that didn't happen for the last 4 years. In fact, I don't know that I've ever seen, though, the Secretary of Defense go do PT with the troops and hold his own. I mean, he's lifting weights, he's running sprints, he's doing the long run, and man, it's a whole different day. He was on the C-17, sitting at a desk in his VIP pod, and signed the executive order, or excuse me, the order on his letterhead to change the name back to Bragg. Here he is. Play it.
There it is. Pursuant to the authority of the Secretary of Defense, Title 10, United States Code, Section 113, I direct the Army to change the name of Fort Liberty, North Carolina, to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. That's right. Bragg is back.
Bragg is back. It just got all over me when I heard that, by the way. I've spent some time at Bragg. Never stationed there long term, obviously, but both my mopes were out of there, and then had time to come and go from there. Same with Benning. And then we were stationed at. I've lived on Redstone. I've either lived or worked on Redstone, Benning, Bragg. Where else? Riley, Knox, all over the place. And then overseas, Frankfurt, Germany, London, England, and then got family members who were in a variety of others. And I'm just listen. I am enamored of this decision. I think it was a good one. I don't know how he was going to get around the names for the other posts, or if he will, but he says he actually is. He actually said he's going to.
Well, and one of the moments of him talking to the press, he said Fort Bragg and Fort Benning, made a point to say both of those. So I would assume Fort Benning would be next.
He was an infantry officer, so I'm sure he's been down there at the Maneuver Center of Excellence, which we used to refer to as this Building 4, the infantry school. He's probably got his own memories of being down there at Benning. When we come back, I'm going to tell you why this matters in the eyes of the world. Peace through strength, baby. That's where we are. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama and Tennessee syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studio. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all the issues. And, oh, yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, let's spend a little time talking about peace through strength. And when I say that, of course, everybody harkens back to the days of Ronald Reagan. Peace through strength, trust but verify. The idea that peace through strength means we don't have to go fight a war if there are people who don't want to fight because we're too strong and they know it. It's kind of like, we basically clear the ballot of any competition, if you will. Well, why would we not want to be in that position? And so that being said, peace through strength is the projection of power. It's not saying we're going in there to push people around. It's not saying we're going out there to start fighting every foreign war that we can pick. No. But what it's saying is that our enemies recognize that we mean business and we are more than capable and we are more than equipped, and that we will return not just blow for blow, we'll return 10 blows for the one they try to give. Now, that being said, there's an attitude shift. There's a complete paradigm shift, if you will, at the Pentagon. And I've worked there. The Pentagon, by the way, I was proud to work there. And I was just, I was known as an action officer. Sounds cool, but basically, I was a lieutenant colonel at the time. I had a friend of mine who was a retired 06 called me and he says, "Phil, I heard you're going to the Pentagon." I said, "I am." He said, "Just so you know, lieutenant colonels make coffee in the Pentagon." I said, "I understand." And it's true. I mean, you're sitting there in the ivory tower, if you will. But it was still very cool, but it was also very cool how layered the bureaucracy was. I mean, I was there working in a skiff on a classified project that was a read on, read off. It was called a SAP. And I'm there working on a SAP project that is already over 10 years old and it hasn't even been implemented. And I'm like, what the heck? These processes around here are ridiculous. And then, the action officers, you had to go to action officer integration course, which I did. And it teaches you how to use the cover sheets for your briefings that go around to get the various signatures. And then you have the Council of Colonels, and then you have the GOSC, the General Officer Steering Committee, and you have all these layers of bureaucracy are so thick. Some of them are necessary. I get it. There's an order to it. There's a means by which things happen, and there should be. But y'all, there were times when it was just, you looked at it and thought, somewhere in this building, there's a good idea fairy who just kind of flies through the building and sprinkles good idea pixie dust everywhere. And people go, "Hey, here's a new thing. Let's pull up a new acronym and get rid of the old acronym." Why? I don't know. It'll look good on my OER. Oh, wonderful. And we do. Right now, what we're seeing, and it may be a honeymoon, I don't know. But right now, what we're seeing is we've got the attitude among the appointed leadership from Hegseth on down that it is not business as usual anymore. We're not just going to say, well, that's just the way we do things around here. And I love it. In fact, I tell you what, let me weed down in my stack here and find one a little further down in the stack. I think I pulled this from Breitbart. Did I? Yeah, Breitbart. Breitbart's got one. Did you know that even the media, the press pool in the Pentagon is feeling it right now? Story here on Breitbart. I'll give you the headline. You ready? Dateline yesterday, 2 days ago. Legacy media outlets are silent during the Biden press crackdown. They now decry losing their Pentagon workspaces. The liberal media is finding out real soon, or right now, that it's not business as usual anymore. I've got New York Times, NBC News, National Public Radio, Politico, The Washington Post, CNN, The Hill, and The War Zone have all been told they have to give up their workspaces to allow more room for the Washington Examiner, Newsmax, the Free Press, the Daily Caller, who else? American News Network, Breitbart, and, oh, by the way, Huffington Post. Huffington Post, yep, So it's apparently bipartisan. Liberals are getting there too. What you got?
Did you see the back and forth Trump had with the Huffington Post guy? Where
Yeah.
He goes, "Who are you with? Huffington Post? I thought they died."
Yeah. He goes, "Oh, really? Are they still around? I thought they died." Horrible news. And then he went on and said, "Next." Yeah, the Trump Pentagon's decision, according to Breitbart, to remove the legacy media outlets from their long-held workspaces and replace them with other news outlets has generated outrage. Outrage! How dare you? I know. You know what? It's a new day. Maybe if you want to report the news, you'll actually report the news and not editorialize it all the time. Thank you very much, NPR. Thank you very much, Politico, who got how many millions of dollars off USAID?
By the way, I think Dale Strong introduced the legislation to defund them.
Defund USAID?
Or no, the NPR. Or I think it was.
I did see that.
Yeah, I think it was Dale Strong that introduced that.
I did see that. So yeah, it's a whole new day. And so here's something. In terms of peace through strength, there's a lot of folks sitting up and taking notice right now that Trump just made the announcement yesterday that he's sick of watching Hamas dribble out hostages, 1, 2, maybe 3 at a time. You know, we'll get you a few more next week, and we'll do a parade with them. And we'll stand there and do a photo op where we have all of our guys in their Hamas gear with their AK-47s posturing with their masks on next to this emaciated looking prisoner that we've held hostage for no other reason except that we could. Well, President Donald Trump expressed dismay, according to Daily Wire, over the appearance of 3 Israeli hostages who emerged from Hamas captivity looking like Holocaust survivors, he said. He said, "I watched the hostages come back today and they look like Holocaust survivors. It was 3 men, Or Levy, Ohad Ben Ami, and Eli Sharabi." He said they were in horrible condition. They were emaciated. It looked like many years ago Holocaust survivors. I don't know how much longer we can take that, he said. He said his patience is running out. Now, the Times of Israel is reporting that these prisoners were reportedly chained, gagged, burned with hot objects, hung by their feet, starved. I mean, they came out just literally looking like they had not eaten in God knows when. And there's zero reason for it. And Hamas is using them like trophies, like photo op trophies. Trump's response, peace through strength. This gets fixed by this weekend. I want the rest of them out, or all hell's going to break out. What does that mean? I don't know. But you know what? What he just basically said was, this is a bad deal, and I'm sick of it. Like one of the guys who came out, 52-year-old Sharabi, Eli Sharabi, he did not know until he got out. After being tortured for over a year, he did not know that his wife, his 2 daughters, and his brother had all been killed, and he found out after coming out. That's just like next level awful right there. Anyway, peace through strength. I will tell you this. Peace through strength is our allies sit up and take notice because the Israeli Security Cabinet met today and agreed completely with Donald Trump that they're sick of watching their people paraded. Israel didn't know if they had anybody that was going to say something. Now they do. Now the big dog is willing to say something. And they're like, yep, thank you for that, Mr. President. We agree. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's story on Fox, he convened the Security Cabinet Tuesday after Hamas announced it was going to delay the next release. You know, we'll get around to it. You know what? Screw that. Well, Peace Through Strength says people are paying attention, the fact that we're actually speaking out. And then you got to look at what's happening in terms of readiness. Let's talk about readiness for a minute. I mean, military readiness has been ranked as the lowest it's been perhaps in modern history. We have had recruiting that hit 40-year lows in the latter part of 2024. We were missing mission on recruiting 2 to 3 years in a row, almost the entire time Biden was in office. We had any number of things that occurred that it really stymied morale. Now they're going to say, "Oh, it was because of COVID." Well, yeah, COVID mandates stripping people of their careers, denying them their religious liberties, telling them they're going to be kicked out dishonorably. How about this? The pullout in Afghanistan. As an Afghan vet, I can tell you it was disheartening. It was discouraging. It was maddening. It was emotional to watch that happen. And we lost 13 service members at the Abbey Gate. And what do we have? The commander-in-chief looking at his watch while they brought the bodies off the plane. and nobody took responsibility. Nobody. I mean, in the administration, nobody resigned. Nobody. All of those things, that and then transgenders in the showers and in the barracks and just craziness. You look at it and go, my gosh. Well, recruiting hit an all-time low. And then you look at DEI being incorporated. How about this? I pulled this off military.com. Military.com, by the way, don't be confused by the name. It is not at all a conservative bastion. Military.com is just upset that we're getting rid of DEI. Story here, Dateline yesterday. Air Force is now nixing its officer applicant diversity goals. No, they're not. What they're doing is they're nixing policies that say we want to recruit certain demographics more than others. That's what we not so long ago had a recruitment statement by Pentagon officials that we have too many white pilots. What? I don't care what color the pilot is, as long as they're bringing the heat when I'm the man on the ground. You know what I'm saying? As long as they can fly that bird better than anybody else, as long as they can do things in the air that only Superman can do and put rounds on target, why do I care what color they are? DEI ruins the idea of meritocracy. The Department of the Air Force, according to military.com, will no longer set its ambitious goals to diversify the officer applicant pool. The latest initiative to be scrapped by the service as a result of Donald Trump's executive orders aiming to rid the military of policies he disagrees with. How about this? Policies the vast majority of Americans disagree with. So yeah, in 2022, just so you know, the Air Force set this diversity goal in place. And it was like this aspirational benchmark they were trying to achieve. They were trying to recruit for minority capacity to increase. And I'm fine with that. Here's the idea. You don't just hire them because they're a skin color. You remove any impediments to skin color being hired. That's what you do. And then you allow meritocracy to take over. Well, Phil, that's discriminatory. No, by God, it's not. It's not. I have served with some outstanding men and women who were of every color, every creed, every religion, and nobody cared. Nobody looked at each other and go, dang, man, you're black. I didn't even realize. I gotta think this through. Nobody did that. Not once in my 30 years. Not once. Yeah, military.com reported in December the Department of Air Force had not hit its lofty diversity goals. Yeah, how about that? They wanted to make sure they had an even breakdown. They wanted 67.5% white, 13% black, 10% Asian, 1.5% Native American, Native Alaskan, and 1% Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander. They needed the BIPOC. BIPOC. What are we talking about here? What they're talking about is no meritocracy, favoritism based upon your demographic. And that, my friends, is a ruination of readiness. Got to take a break. I'll come back on this. Peace through strength. Yes, I will. I got more. How about this? Hegseth memo came out. Transgenders in the military? What'd he say? I'll tell you all about it. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right, giving you all the truth you can slap on a bumper sticker. All right, so I got a bunch of text messages we'll get to in a minute, and I'm going to be cleaning up some more of the stuff on Peace Through Strength. But I got to go to the phones because Sparky from Harvest is on the line. Hey, man, how are you doing?
I am good. Enjoyed the last discussion on the military, and agree with you 100%. As an aviator, I flew with some fine men and women, Army aviators of every color and description. Nobody saw color or gender, in my opinion.
Yeah.
By and large,
Yeah.
It's just we cut us, we bleed green. But the people that were active duty that I've been in communications with in the last few seasons, they report that the whole notion of the woke agenda, period, let alone the transgender stuff, and meeting their diversity goals, it's at odds with the military fundamentals and integrity and the truth matters. And when you have to live in a fantasy bubble world and pretend like gender is fluid and go along with something that intellectually dishonest and biologically dishonest, it kills the entire climate of truth telling. And people have to be able to tell the commander the brutal truth so that they can make informed decisions. And talk about a breath of fresh air now with the new president and the new Secretary of Defense.
Man, so well said, Spark. I mean, you need to come host this show for me sometime because that was eloquent and so well done. I'd love the idea that the truth telling is being put on the back burner, and I'm paraphrasing what you said, but yeah, absolutely. It defies common sense. It defies reality, and now we're defying the wokeness, and I love that. All right, man.
Well,
appreciate you. Go ahead. What you got?
Okay. Have a good evening.
All right, buddy. See ya. I got one text here. I think is it Tom? Yeah, Tom with all the kids. I love that. It's Tom with all the kids in Huntsville. He was talking about the Pentagon. He said that was the Form 5. We hated those. Yes, the Form 5. Oh, like I get shudders thinking about it. But yes, indeed. Thank you for your service too, Tom. Jamie from Pulaski, Alabama says, oldest sister was born in Japan during Korea. Next sister was born at Benning. Next sister was born in Germany. I was born at Rucker. Growing up on post was a great way to be raised. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm watching family right now living on a military post and thinking, man, everything's right here, and it's just so cool. It's like a little insular society in some ways, but it's also a microcosm of America. And there's problems. It's not everything's perfect. I get it, but it was a good experience for me. And then a lot of times we lived on the economy. We lived in England. Dad was the U.S. Army liaison to the British Army, and we lived on the British economy. But I went to school on an Air Force base. I've said it before. Some of y'all even went there. I know somebody chimed in. London Central High School in London, England, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade was probably one of my best school experiences because of just the uniqueness of it. It was also a time in my life where I needed something different than what I had been doing. And that's the place where I accepted Christ, and it really changed my life dramatically. But yeah, living on post, it can actually be really, really good. Now, it can be disruptive. It really depends on the parents. Moving, it can be disruptive. I get it. But the reality is, for me, it was good. And for a lot of you, I know it was. Bruce from Springville chimed in. He says, the key word in this is deterrence. It encompasses all of superior armament, tactics, logistics, and intelligence that would make any enemy think twice before engaging us. Absolutely. Perfectly said. John from Pike Road says, hey, Phil, this is John from Pike Road. Changing the subject. Okay. I saw the redistricting map is going to court again to hopefully go back. Oh, well, that's good to hear. Did not know that. That's maybe, I tell you what, I may have to include that in my, John, if you have a link to an article on that, I'm doing a segment on home fries here in a minute, and I might want to talk about that. Then Dan from Huntsville says, bring back Benning School for Boys, a place where you wake up bright and early every morning to enjoy group physical activities, followed by breakfast serving eggs any way you like them, so long as you like them scrambled, shooting, nature walks, parachuting, the school where you learn, collectively, individually, that the ultimate ways to treat your fellow man. Dan, thank you. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We'll wrap it up when I get back. Y'all stay tuned. Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Radio, solid conservative, just plain right, just covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I am talking about from Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I'm talking about that prettiest little town on the plains. That would be Auburn. And I do mean to say we even add in big old patches of Georgia and Mississippi, just for good measure. Glad you guys are with us. We're at 3:30 right now, the 3:30 segment anyway, on the Taco Tuesday here. I'm wrapping up this peace through strength discussion. I'm on fire with it right now. It means a lot to me personally. It means a lot to, I think, our nation to know that we are not just going to keep screwing around with our military and turning the U.S. military, the much vaunted U.S. military, into a petri dish for social experimentation. Not the least of which was the transgenders in the military policy. Now, let me caveat this by saying, I don't fault someone for wanting to serve. I do fault someone for wanting to serve when they know they can't. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, if you're non-deployable, then what business do you have being in an expeditionary military? Nothing. That's like saying, I can't carry somebody, but I'd like to be a fireman. That's like saying, I can't drive a car, but I'd like to be a policeman driving a beat. That's like, I mean, pick it. There are any number of, and granted, most people out there going, well, you can't discriminate, can you? Actually, you're allowed to have a thing called BFOQs. It's a legal term. You can look it up. BFOQ. That's bona fide occupational qualifications. What it says is, if you cannot meet certain physical standards that the job entails, that you don't have to be given a job. Why would we take somebody in to the U.S. military who is going to go through all kinds of transitional therapies and even surgeries that makes them automatically non-deployable for upwards of a year? Why are we doing that, especially when it involves issues of mental health, especially when it involves things that are also divisive in the barracks, if you will? Well, military.com is crying again. Military.com, dateline yesterday, transgender recruits and gender-affirming healthcare restricted by a Hegseth memo. First of all, it's not gender-affirming, it's gender non-affirming if you get down to it. It's saying the way you were born was wrong, so we got to fix you. There's a memo that apparently came out. It was dated this past Friday. Not getting a lot of headlines, is it? I had to dig this one out. I knew it was out there. Now, part of that's because there's so much news. But anyway, apparently in a court filing on Monday, the Trump administration is fighting a lawsuit already on this whole transgender issue. It came out that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth signed a memo on Friday saying, quote, effective immediately, all new accessions for individuals with histories of gender dysphoria are paused, and all unscheduled, scheduled, or planned medical procedures associated with affirming or facilitating a gender transition for service members are paused. He didn't say canceled, but he did say paused. What he's basically saying is, until we've had a chance to look through this whole situation, we ain't doing it. Y'all, that is nothing but good. Because, listen, I can tell you, I know what it was like being with guys going down range, and there'd be that one individual who didn't or who couldn't, and everybody talked about him. Well, what's wrong with Joe? I don't know. Something with his feet. What do you mean? I don't know. He's not going. What do you mean he's not going? Yeah, he's gonna be in the rear with the gear. I mean, granted, somebody has to be part of the rear detail. I get it. But the ones who were not physically able always had kind of the, that thing comment about them. Well, you got that thing. Well, why would we voluntarily take people who have that thing? And the point is, we don't have to. The only reason why we did was because of DEI. Period. It was virtue signaling. Period. There's no readiness issue that says, we just really need more transgenders who can't deploy. That's awesome. Can they jump out of an airplane? Well, no. Can they drive a truck? Probably not. Can they? And some of you out there are probably going, well, of course they could drive a truck. Not in the combat zone. How about this? Our military academies, which, by the way, a lot of people don't realize, to go to one of the military academies is not just prestigious in the military sense, it's actually considered an Ivy League education. And they've gone very woke over the last few years. DEI has been ingrained. Critical race theory has been ingrained. And what's also interesting is when the Supreme Court came back with its decision last year to ban the use of affirmative action in the enrollment of students at universities, the military academies were exempt. Why? Because they answered to the Department of Defense. So it took extra measures. So in that environment, you would think that they would look at it and go, fellas, it really is kind of the national trend. The Supreme Court's already ruled. We ought to get on board with that because it might hurt our recruiting. It might hurt our accessions. It might hurt people being, nominated or even wanted to be nominated for a service academy slot. Nope, they didn't do it. Well, each of the service academies has what's known as a board of visitors. The board of visitors is the official, and they're like the senior advisors, most of whom are the academy graduates from the past, Army, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard. They all have their board of visitors. President Trump just posted this morning, yesterday morning actually, on his social media, the service academies. He says the left-wing mind virus that has affected the service academies over the last 4 years. He said, I've ordered the immediate dismissal of the Board of Visitors for the Army, Air Force, Navy, and Coast Guard academies. Wow. He said, we will have the strongest military in history, and that begins by appointing new individuals to these boards. We must make the military academies great again. I happen to sit on the Board of Advisors for a national organization called STARS. STARS is an organization that it's basically designed to root out extremism in the ranks from the woke side of things. And y'all, STARS is loving this because most of them are academy grads. Identity months, dead at the DOD. This came out a couple of days ago. Actually, it came out 10 days ago. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, identity months are dead at DOD. There will be no more separate and individualized months to celebrate certain demographics over others. So there will no longer be during duty hours. You can do it off duty all you want. Go to a parade, go march, do all the things. But the training time and DOD dollars will not go to celebrating individual demographics. National African American Black History Month, Women's History Month, Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, National Hispanic Heritage Month, National Disability Employment Awareness Month, National American Indian Heritage Month, Gay Pride, all of it. All of those months that consume time on the calendar with special events and little flags and things we have to do and cakes and all the stuff we do to virtue signal are gone at the DOD. Hegseth also said, by the way, you'll be happy to know this. I won't read you the whole article from The Hill yesterday. We welcome Doge at the DOD. Can I have some Doge sound effect? I think we need it. Play it. Doge sound effect.
Doge. Doge.
Thank you for breaking things up. That was awesome. Hegseth says we welcome Doge. Now, what's this doing to us? What is happening? Let me just say this. What's happening is exactly what you'd want to have happen. Morale's going up. It is. Morale's going up. Readiness is going up too. How can you tell, Phil? Readiness? It's too soon for that, isn't it? Trump got elected in November. In December, we hit the highest recruiting in a decade. That's like right after he got elected. The highest recruiting in a decade. January even beat that. Officials say that December 2024 was their best December actually in 15 years. With nearly 350 new soldiers enlisted every single day that month. Army recruiters shared on their social media platforms, our recruiters have one of the toughest jobs, inspiring the next generation of soldiers to serve. Congratulations, keep up the good work. And it's basically what's happening right now is readiness is going to be increasing because in part, we're going to have the people there to do it. Y'all, we are seeing the script flipped like overnight. I'm sitting here right now with an article from military.com who is probably hating to have to say this, but Dateline yesterday, The Army is already nearly halfway to its ambitious goal of recruiting 61,000 soldiers during this fiscal year. The fiscal year to start in October. That's October, November, December, January. They are literally 4 months into the year, and they're already halfway to their recruiting goal. They have not had this in over a decade. It is unbelievable what is happening right now. Peace through strength. I think we're back, baby. I think we're back. Let me get a few text messages before I go to a break, and we'll change gears when we come back, do some home fries. Chris from Starrett, Alabama. He says, when I was in recruiting for the Navy from 2007 to 2010, we had a recruiting goal for Black, Hispanic, and Pacific Islander. Recruiters got extra points for these groups. Wow. He said, I'm all for diversity, and I've seen it used many positive ways, but to force it like it has been has just not been right. Chris, thanks for your service, and thank you again for that, too. Adam from Athens says, have you heard the Reverend in Chattanooga calling for violence against Muskie? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Yes, I have. What kind of church does he pastor? Harry from Madison, Alabama sends me a link to something on YouTube. I'll take a look at it later, but thanks so much for signing up for the newsletter too, Harry. Pete from Decatur says, I have some academy grads in my family. My son was going to do that, but the woke bothered me, so we sent him to the Citadel. If you know of anyone whose kid wants to make a military career, that's where they ought to look. Okay, personal testimony, I'll take it. And then David at Bucky's again says, Phil, peace through strength. I was serving in 1979 when Iranians took over the American embassy and held 52 Americans for 444 days. They were released just after Reagan was sworn in as president. Peace through strength. It's a great place to stop. It's a great reminder, too, what it means to have leadership at the helm that people look to and realize, I better respect that or it's going to come smack me right in the face. All right, Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Taking a break, coming right back. Going to do some home fries. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative, just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground. Y'all, I'm telling you we are, but you know who else covers down on some major ground? That'd be our buddy Jeff Rowe from Indiana. Truck driving man, what you got going on? How are you, buddy?
It's good weather for a duck, buddy. That's all I can say.
Well, it's
Oh,
raining
my
down
God.
here, but I hear it's snowing back up where your destination is.
Had a little bit of wet snow this morning, but when I left, it was like 35 degrees, so it wasn't nothing going on too much.
Well-
Covered the ground, that's about it.
Well, we were watching this now on TV, and the nation's capital, D.C., is like being blanketed in snow. It's like aggressive snow right now.
Oh, cool. Maybe it'll slow them down.
I don't want them to slow down. Right now, I like what I'm seeing.
That's right. I'm thinking about the last administration, wasn't I?
That's all they had was slow. That's all the only speed they knew was slow.
Yeah.
Well, so where are you at right now?
I am at the 51-mile marker on I-65 going northbound toward Crashville.
Okay. Well, you be careful out there on the road. Well, what do you think about this stuff? So
TMI.
far, pretty much all I've talked about is the peace through strength, the military stuff. What do you think about that?
Well, on the Pentagon,
Yeah.
let's make some bets here.
Okay.
When Doge comes into the Pentagon looking for things, how much money do you think would be used to develop a green tank? And pardon the pun, I'm not talking about the color either.
Mm-hmm.
Electric tanks, maybe put some patchouli oil in them or something so they run on that, makes everything smell good when they go
Listen,
into battle.
that's not even a secret. You can find that out now. I know for a fact that they have been fielding the effort, putting the effort together to field an EV tank. But it is not considered mission capable at this point. So they're studying it, but it's been studied by congressional authority to do so. The question is going to have is, I'm looking forward to, why have we failed audits for 7 years in the Pentagon? Why have we been failing audits left one after the other? And so where is the equipment? Where is the money? And did we overpay? And did we keep receipts?
Well, it's because they can, because no one's been held accountable for
That's right.
several years now. So, if we start holding people accountable, well, that'd be awful. It'd be just like Russia or something. Who put people in gulags like they should when they misspend money like they've been spending it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah.
What do you think about renaming Fort Bragg to Fort Bragg?
I think it's a good idea. It's we need to find other people who've got the same names, and with different backgrounds that get to rename everything else.
I look at it.
With the originals.
Yeah, let me ask you what you think about that, because I saw it and I thought, this feels like they're playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers. They literally came back with the name Fort Bragg, but they announced that, oh, by the way, it's not Braxton Bragg, the Confederate general. It's it's Roland Bragg, a World War II hero. How about that?
Yeah. And it's kind of like the school that was named Lincoln, and they got rid of that too. You know what I mean? It's like, Lincoln's a racist, man. So,
Well,
I don't know. I think they need to quit this stupid naming stuff and everything. And when we forget history, history repeats itself. And God knows I don't want to see another Biden in that White House.
Lord, no. It's going to take us a bit of time here to dig out from the Biden that we had. But, I said it before, it took a Carter to bring us a Reagan. And I think it took the Biden era to bring us the new and improved version of Trump, which is really coming in there and just literally just wearing things out. And it's been cool to watch.
Yeah, and he's just like Elon when they asked him, about the losing money and everything. He says, "I don't care," And I think Trump is the same way. He's not going to be reelected, so it's "I don't care." I hope he stays in that "I don't care" mode.
I do too. Hey, man, be safe on the road. All right, we'll talk to you.
Have a good one, buddy.
I see you, man. Yeah, I agree. I think you know what? Now that we've said that, I bet that right now what I'm seeing is, even if the law didn't require Trump to be term limited, I think that he would have the same attitude, don't you? I mean,
of going as fast as he is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like as game on as he is right now.
Yes, 100%. I don't even think he would run for another term if he could, because, I mean, he is old, and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and you know, so even if he could run for another term, I don't know if he would. I know the left
No.
the left likes to say that he's a demagogue, wannabe dictator, but I think he's probably going to be exhausted after this term because of how much he's done. But yeah, I agree. I think after what happened in 2020, he was just sitting on the outside, just dying to get in and do all of this. And he's got the actual team around him that is just as motivated as he is to do all this. You know, he talked in the Hannity interview before the Super Bowl about how he had a bunch of people that were roadblocks last time,
Yeah.
but now he's got a whole team that's on the same page. So I think that goes into them being so fast and effective as well.
I think he also came in and decided the deep state was going away.
Yep.
I mean, right, I mean, literally, he's this people who were the impediments. And they call them the deep state, but what they really are bureaucrats who believe they know better because they've been in the job so long. And I know you're elected, but you're only elected for a short period of time. I'm the one who's still going to be here, so I'm the one that's going to know how this works. And I'll just make sure that I do what parts I feel like over what you told me I had to do. And I see that in state government now in Montgomery too, more than once. But I think that him coming in and saying, you know, off with their heads. I mean, I think that's where we are, and it's the only way it's going to work.
But the left talking about Elon being unelected, they're protecting unelected people.
That's exactly right.
And people voted for this. Like the right voted for Elon to come in with the Trump administration. It's comical to me. It's comical to me, the left talking about unelected people doing stuff. That's
I look
who you're
at
protecting.
It. Yeah, I look at it too and think the ones who are screaming the loudest are probably the ones who are scared about what they're going to find.
Yep.
Because I'm pretty sure some of their names are going to be in it.
Just maybe one or two.
Oh, by the way, don't make plans. We got something for you. All right, we're coming right back, and I'm jumping into Home Fries. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama and Tennessee syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all the issues. And, oh yeah, like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Welcome to hour number 3 on a Taco Tuesday. All right, so I gotta tell you guys, we got something coming up on Thursday. Big doings. Pretty excited about it. He's been on the show once before, but we have a streaming event with actor Kirk Cameron will be on with us. Some of y'all know him from years gone by, but he's basically a warrior for what I would call conservative Christian causes right now, and he's on a roll. And he's got some really cool stuff coming up in the near future, and so we're going to talk with him about it. It'll be on our Thursday show. We're actually going to have to pre-record it just because of scheduling. But if you're watching the live streams, you'll be able to see the video of me talking with Kirk Cameron. And so I would encourage you, make time for that. The interesting dynamic is this. Thursday, we're going to air the interview, and then coming up in March, he'll actually be here in studio with us. So yeah, actor Kirk Cameron's going to be a part of Rightside Radio coming up here very shortly.
Yeah, he'll be doing his tour coming to Gadsden, so if anybody wants to come check it out. He's doing a book tour right now, because he's been a part of that big movement of getting all the woke crap out of books.
Yeah, and a company called Brave Books that he works with,
And so they'll be coming to Gaston if anybody wants to check that out too.
He's got a new kids program coming out in March also, which is going to be really something. So yeah, he's going to be traveling around the region, not just at Gadsden, but he's going to be here in Gadsden at one point where our studio is. And so we have a first interview with him on Thursday and a live in-person in our studio interview again coming up in March. So we're looking forward to that. I got to also tell you guys, here's something else, just in case you didn't know. So Rightside Media is our parent company. Rightside Radio that you're listening to right now is just one of our productions. We have Rightside Radio every day, 3 hours a day, live on the air. Then we podcast that show. That podcast has like almost 300,000 downloads. And then we have 4 other video podcasts with a 5th one still in the works right now. And then all said and done, we got a ton of production here and then a lot of written stuff that we do as well that gets published in newspapers all around the region. All I'm saying is this. There's a lot going on at Rightside, not the least of which is we also have a daily newsletter that goes out by email. And if you want to subscribe to this, I've got a new reason why. We just opened the merchandise store yesterday. And we opened it, but we said, you know what? For those who have been subscribing to the newsletter, we're going to give them first dibs at all the T-shirts and the hats and the coffee mugs and the bench shot glasses that have our Bulletproof Influence logo on them. And they sold like hotcakes on the first afternoon. It was crazy. But it's only right now, advanced look, first dibs for people who are on our newsletter subscription. So we're going to open it up to everybody later in the week. But for the first few days, it's only newsletter subscribers get to see the merch store. If you would like to get the newsletter so you can also see the merch store in advance, all you got to do is the number that people text in all the time, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Just text single word newsletter. It's one word, all one word, newsletter. You'll get an automatic reply back that lets you sign up for it. No charge, no fuss, no muss. It'll drop in your inbox every day. It tells you about all our podcasts, things that are happening, what's going to be on the show that day, and gives you some advanced looks of things to include the merch store. I got some merch right here. I'm doing this a total shameless plug. I'm all in, brother.
Go ahead.
I'm all in. So this one is what is it? This is our bench shot glass. I don't know if you can see that on the camera or not. It is so cool, but it is literally a glass with Rightside Media's logo and a 308 bullet embedded in the glass, and the Rightside Media logo with Bulletproof Influence underneath it, engraved in the glass. So those are on the merch store. We got coffee mugs like these. We got T-shirts like the one that you're wearing right now. We got all kinds of stuff. Butters had a hat on. Did you?
Yeah, I gotta get one of those hats. Wear around.
That hat, the one he had on was the trucker hat with the I
like trucker hats. They're nice.
Anyway, all the stuff, man, all the stuff. Oh, We just had 2 more newsletter signups while I was talking. Thank y'all very much. All right, let's jump on in. So back to topics at hand. I will never stop harping on this. In fact, I was meeting with somebody today about things in Montgomery, and I made the same comment that I make here on this show. Y'all, sometimes what happens in your state capital is just as or more important than what happens to you out of things that come from D.C. Everything from how much gas do you pay at the gas pump? Tax do you pay at the gas pump? What are your local taxes like? What are things that are occurring with regards to whether you have an open carry state or you're required to have a permit to be able to own a firearm? Are there going to be laws in place that affect mental health? What do they do for veterans in your state? Economic development, all of it comes out of your state capital. And it's massive. And right now, our listening area in the Southeast, I can tell you specifically, Alabama and Tennessee's legislatures are both in right now. I spent 8 years in the Alabama State Senate. I can tell you firsthand what it's like to be down there, dealing with legislation, going to committee action, getting back on the floor, debating the bills, trying to pass things, trying to block the bad stuff, trying to balance the budgets. And it's daunting. Billions and billions of taxpayer dollars are appropriated every year in your state capital. Don't ever lose sight of it. In fact, I would encourage you, if you don't know who your state senator or your state representative is, then I would absolutely suggest to you, you need to find out. There are things happening right now that you may take issue with. Like, for instance, in fact, I like to call this section, we call it cooking up some home fries. Hit me some home fries. There it is. Yeah, cook them up. All right, cooking up a batch of home fries. Here's one for you. 1819 News has a story. Here's the kind of things that happen. Tell me your feelings on this. Right now, Governor Ivey has said that in Alabama, says that she wants to get smartphones out of classrooms. I don't disagree with that. House Bill 166 by State Representative Lee Halsey, a Republican out of Helena, would indeed crack down on the use of cell phones and other wireless devices during instructional periods. So I'm assuming when they say instructional period, that means that I haven't seen the bill, but I'm assuming that means they can have it during breaks, during lunch, before and after. But right now, there is in fact a bill that's already been dropped in, and that's the phrase we use, dropping it in, that is beginning the committee process to ban cell phones in schools. Here's another one, though, you may find interesting. House Bill 235 by State Representative David Faulkner. Faulkner's a great guy. I like Faulkner a lot. He's a Republican out of Birmingham. House Bill 235 would require social media companies to provide a reasonable age verification process and prevent individuals under 16 from getting social media accounts. Woo! If that were to pass, that's going to rock some worlds. JP, you grew up in the era of social media, texting, always had a phone in your pocket kind of generation. I didn't. How is somebody under 16 going to react when they can't have their TikTok or Instagram or Twitter accounts?
Well, I think I had my first social media when I was like 13, 12, something like that. So, yeah, I think it would – I don't know how I feel about that one. That was kind of weird.
There's a fine line between government intrusiveness and overregulation and doing good things on behalf of your constituents. Mm-hmm. There's a fine line. I got mixed feelings on this one. 16, I wonder how they came up with 16.
Yes. Well, by the way, I like Katie Britt's bill of putting a disclaimer, for social media for kids. I'm not sure what the disclaimer is or whatever, but yeah, the restricting is, yeah.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Britt's bill may actually require parental consent.
Yeah, I think that may be it. Which I'm fine with that, but it's like, yeah, the restricting, I agree with you. I'm a little wishy-washy on that.
Yeah, so we'll see how this goes over, but I'm going to be honest with you, I don't expect that one to pass. Just me sitting here right now. I think if they had lowered it, like made it like 12, I could see it. But once you're a teenager, once you're 16, okay, so under 16 is what it's saying. So when you get driving age, that one's dicey, man. That was dicey. But that's coming out of your state capital right now. How about this? In Tennessee, they're looking to do what Alabama is doing right now, too. There's a bill in the Tennessee legislature that would, at the state level, in state law, codify that there are only two sexes. It's amazing to me we have to do this.
I know.
It's still absolutely. I was on this radio show this morning down in Mobile, and we had that same discussion. It's amazing that we're at a point that we have to spend legislative time to say There's only male and female, and you're born that way, and that's all there is.
Those are layup bills.
They are layup bills.
This low-hanging fruit.
It's red meat, man.
Mm-hmm.
Go get her done, Republicans. You have supermajorities in both Alabama and Tennessee. This should not even be hard debate. In fact, I'd like to know if any Republicans going to oppose these bills.
They better not.
Now, here's what they do. And you got to watch this. Well, we just ran out of time to get that one done. Really?
Instead, we were sitting around talking about gambling.
Exactly. Here's the thing. When you have a supermajority in your legislature, if a bill doesn't pass, it's because you didn't want it to. And that's all there is to it. So you can't use the we ran out of time thing. We see that. We know what you're saying. You just didn't feel like it. So you pretended you ran out of time. Well, Tennessee legislature, Senate bill was filed last Wednesday, or sponsored by Republican Senator Paul Rose, and another one sponsored by Representative Mark Cochran. They're working in companion, I guess. The language in both bills states that the policy of the state is there's only two sexes, biological male, biological female. Bam, there it is. And it's going to be the law. I'm betting you it's going to be the law. What else have I got here? Home Fridays. Why? How much time have I got? Oh, I tell you what, let's take a break. We'll take a break right now, and I'll come back and tell you, apparently Lieutenant Governor Ainsworth decided to break with Governor Ivey today on something. And it's a bill that's actually in front of the legislature as we speak. I'll tell you more about it. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We will be right back. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Pulling pins on truth grenades. That's what we're doing. I'm going to the phones here, but I got to tell you, we are in the middle of cooking up a batch of home fries. Yes, indeed. You can hear them cooking, sizzling in the pan. All right, so we're cooking up a batch of home fries. These are things that relate to where we live, things that are happening in your news right around you. Let me take a call real quick from Scott from Huntsville. Hey, Scott, how you doing?
Good morning, Colonel. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. What's on your mind?
Airborne infantry.
Hey,
I've got a
Queen
question.
of Battle.
I got a question.
All right.
I'm 69 years old and I'm thoroughly confused.
Okay.
I agree with you that about this Montgomery thing where everybody's got to vote and make it a law about male, female. I mean, I don't understand that. Was there ever a bill during the Biden administration for all of this male, female, LGBTQTR, SUV, all that? Was there ever a bill that was passed, making all this stuff a law in the first place?
Yeah, they're actually, what you talking about from the Biden administration, or you talking about in our state?
Well, generally, either federal or within our state. Was there ever a law passed saying, that all of this is now legal and it's law and, it's now the way the world rotates? Because I always thought there was just two genders, but now I'm thoroughly confused. I think there's all kinds of genders now, I guess.
I got news, Scott. You were never confused. You were right all along, and I affirm your rightness. But I'll tell you, there was not a law passed. What there was an executive order and a series of what they call interpretations. So we had a situation under the law where regulatory departments, like Department of Education, for instance, is allowed to interpret the law as they see fit, and they were given immunity for doing so. But the Supreme Court came out just in the last year and said, no, you don't have the freedom to just blanket interpret the law and construe things differently than what they were intended. And so that went away last year. And then I do know that there were states that passed male-female laws. Alabama had one last year that didn't get through the process, but this year it looks like it's going to. So yeah, the executive orders from the president and all of his departments made it as if it had the impact of law, but it was not congressionally mandated.
Good. So I'm not confused. I'm still good.
You are highly educated and extremely motivated.
Thank you, Jesus. Have a great day, sir.
See you, Scott.
Airborne infantry all the way.
Airborne. See you, man. So that's good stuff. Hey, back on home fries, too, before I hit the break, I got to tell you, so one of our listener areas live on the radio is down yonder in Auburn, WANI, 1400 AM, 98.7 FM. Story out of Lee County right now. I mean, this story just broke a little while ago here today on 1819 News. FBI conducting immigration raids in Baldwin and Lee counties. So yeah, the FBI regional office out of Mobile conducted Homeland Security raids in Baldwin and Lee counties, Lee County being Auburn, that area, Auburn-Opelika. 5 people were arrested in Baldwin County. 4 more were arrested in Lee County. What they're basically doing is exactly what they said they would do. This is like happening all around the nation, but I want you to know it's happening in your backyard right now. As we cook up some home fries, just understand that the immigration raids are happening in our state as we speak. And if they come to the job site and they don't have proof of ID, if they have reasonable suspicion that there are illegals working there, they are in the mode right now where they're going to detain them. So just making you aware, I suspect there's going to be a lot of self-deportation going on here in the very near future. And you know what? I granted, not all of them are lawbreakers in terms of extra crimes, but they all broke the law to get here, and that's the problem. And right now, those who are here trying to do good things, they should have, how do I put this? They should have been aware of the fact that their presence became an issue when the borders were flooded and criminal elements also made abusive efforts to get into our country. That being said, what I mean by that is the so-called, just the dreamers, the ones who came here and they didn't mean anything. They just wanted a better life for their family. the sentiment is now overwhelmingly against them because there were too many bad apples. You can't flood in like they did in human waves and then it suddenly be okay. Oh, you have good intent? Okay. It's not going to work. And we're seeing it right now in our own state as we're watching FBI raids taking place in 2 of our counties just even today. Just so as you know, which one do I want here? How much time do I have? Hardly any time. I got no time at all? Like 30
seconds.
Well, daggone. Well, JP, then I guess I'll hold off telling everybody that Lieutenant Governor Ainsworth is broken with Governor Ivey over control of the Veterans Administration in Alabama. Oh, I'm sorry, I just did.
I was about to say, you kind of just did that.
I'll cover it when we get back. Yellowhammer News has the story. But yeah, keep in mind the Lieutenant Governor and the Governor, they are elected separately. In Alabama, they don't run on a ticket. They might be of the same ticket, so to speak, but they do not run as a ticket together. They're not like the president and vice president, and policy is what it is. The governor can see things a certain way, and the lieutenant governor can say, I ain't for it. Well, that happened today. I'll tell you more about it. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. Hey, all you Rightside ruffians out there, you are listening to Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right.
Turn it up.
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Covering down on some major ground across the southeast U.S. of A. Y'all, I'm talking about this show. Goes like from Huntsville back over to Chattanooga. I'm talking about from Tuscaloosa back over to Gadsden. I'm talking about all the way down to that prettiest little town on the plains called Auburn. And oh yeah, even big old patches of Georgia and Mississippi all thrown in just for good measure. Hey, home fries is what I'm cooking up right now. Cook them up, man. Sizzle them. Sizzle them in the pan. Yeah. So, interesting to find times when the lieutenant governor of a state is outspoken against the governor of the state. Well, Governor Ivey has got a burr under her saddle right now about the structure of the Department of Veterans Affairs. She went into and by the way, I keep meaning to call the former secretary of the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs, Admiral Kent Davis, and get him on the show. It's my fault for not doing that so far. So if he's listening or one of his fans is listening, just know that it has been my intent to get him on, and it gets out of sight, out of mind, so my bad. But his story is compelling. He felt like there were issues that related to veterans that were not being cared for well, and basically took a stand on some things. And then he wound up filing basically a complaint with the Ethics Commission against the Department of Mental Health, and then he was removed for it. Lost his job. Well, the interesting dynamic here is apparently he's supposed to have been appointed by the board. He doesn't necessarily serve at the pleasure of the governor. The board of directors is made up of veterans, and there are different means by which someone becomes a member of that board. The governor wants all that changed. Now, I want something changed with regards to how the state health officer who shut us all down during COVID gets appointed. I want him to have some accountability. The thing is, I really do believe that the Veterans Administration is probably running smoothly the way it is. Ivey wants it changed. Right now, a bill is being argued on the floor of the Alabama Senate as we speak. And I've got a couple of live tweets going on right now with some people who keep tabs on these things. And they say that it's Ivey's not getting her way. She's not, which is an interesting dynamic. Of course, she's a lame duck governor. There's that. But we're watching right now is her bill is getting, like one guy said on this live tweet that I'm on, getting schwacked down to the nubs. 4 or 5 amendments being dropped on it already. And that was an hour ago. Lieutenant Governor Ainsworth came out against Governor Ivey's position on this today. Issued a statement saying, ain't gonna do it, ain't no how, no way. I've got a copy of the letter that he sent out saying that he believes his opposition to the legislation, it would transform the Alabama Departments of Veterans Affairs away from being an independent, veteran-led agency to one that is subject to the authority of the governor's office. Now keep in mind, we're looking at Will Ainsworth as a very likely candidate to run for governor when Ivey's term expires. And we'll know that here in the next couple of months because the season for running for that office can open as early as this May, 1 year out from the primary. It appears that what he's doing is he's posturing himself as being in a different position than Ivey so he can say, I stood up for veterans. And I'm not saying he doesn't believe in it. I'm just saying he's obviously going live with this. He didn't have to, but he obviously is going live with it. But he also, as lieutenant governor, he chairs the Alabama Military Stability Commission, and made us one of the best states for military retirees to locate. And he sees this as being something that is true to what his position has always been, taking care of veterans. All right, the split's there. I will tell you, too, that State Senator April Weaver and State Senator Chris Elliott, who've both been on the show many times, April Weaver just last week, that they are absolutely opposed to this. I don't think the bill is going to pass, at least not in its original form. So we'll see. We'll find out. But that's happening right now in your backyard. Something else is happening in Tennessee. Where'd that thing go? Yeah. Liberals and Republicans are trying to pass gun laws. In Tennessee's legislature. We got a bill called Michaela's Law, which is a couple of Nashville Democrats that are putting forward a bill right now that would basically say that it's the offense of reckless endangerment if a person allows a gun to be obtained by a child under 13. Now, how do you govern that? Here's the thing. I am all for personal responsibility. I'm also for getting the government, to back off of being in your house with you. But how do you, I mean, you can do gun locks, you can have a gun safe, you can keep the guns in an out of the way, out of the reach. But you know what? An inquisitive child could still have, are they going to say that literally it's a crime, it's a criminal offense of reckless endangerment if a child gets hold of a firearm and reasonable steps have been taken to try and prevent it? I don't know how they're going to possibly govern that. And then you've got bills right now making it a Class A misdemeanor for what is called reckless storing. What is that? I've got a gun safe, but I forgot to lock it. I don't know. I put it in a drawer. I don't know. All I know is reckless storing means that a reasonable person should have known better. That's what the law says. That's not going to pass. A couple of Republicans are saying they have a bill right now to prohibit healthcare professionals from being able to ask patients if they own or possess or have access to firearms. You know what that's doing? That's preventing red flag laws. Red flag laws. Those laws that say government knows best and will decide who should or should not. And I'm just telling you, when the government gets to pick all the winners and losers over constitutional liberties, guess who's going to lose? We do. So in this particular case, no, we don't need people asking, oh, by the way, I'm your doctor. I need to know, do you have any firearms? Why do you ask? Well, you going to put me on a list, doc? Is that what's happening? And I'll tell you, do I believe there's crazy people that get guns? Yeah, unfortunately there are, and I know that. They are the vast minority, but I do know that there are people who have ill intent and who have bad form and who have mental illness who do get hold of firearms. I'm aware of that. I'll also tell you that it should never be the government who decides who is a red flag. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have states where things happen like, I don't know, Alabama's extremely lax divorce laws. And then all of a sudden you've got the egregious claims being made by one divorce spouse trying to get a leg up on the other divorce spouse in the divorce proceedings. And so they file a claim that there's abuse. And next thing you know, red flag. And there was no abuse. It was an attempt to get more alimony, or it was an attempt to get child custody, or name it. All I'm saying is this will become a thing to which there is no end to the abuse of it if we allow the government to decide who has a red flag and who doesn't. We got a number of other bills going on right now that are related. Some are on gun control and some are on gun freedoms in Tennessee. Keep your eyes open, more to come. You might also be interested to know that a bill has been filed in D.C. Phil, I thought it was home fries. It is. Bear with me. Yellowhammer News, story by our buddy Yaffe, came out yesterday. Apparently, there is one member of Congress, not just one, a lot actually, who thinks that Elon Musk has gone too far to try and rid the government of waste, fraud, and abuse. This particular person is going to do something about it. They're going to do something about it. We're going to make it. We're going to change this. We're going to block him. We're not going to let it happen. President Donald Trump has tasked Musk, of course, to create Doge. And U.S. Representative Terry Sewell from Alabama has filed a bill to try and block Doge from being able to do its work. Just so as you know, that's one of your Alabama Democrats making life fun. Now, here's one that I didn't see coming. Every once in a while, a bill gets dropped in, and you're like, what? Really? And then you find out that somebody's actually for it. You think, who? Why? The governor? Okay, so Alabama Daily News has a story by Tricia Crane. Ivy and some lawmakers want 8 weeks of paid maternity leave for teachers and state employees. Now, having a child is a big, big deal. Do you really need 2 months? Really? You need 2 months out of the year to get yourself situated. is that for the first child or for every child? Because, our friend with all the kids would never be at work. I had good friends in school, the O'Hallorans. They had 17 kids in their family. Or is it 15? Maybe 15.
I heard 18.
Oh, well, geez, okay, it never stopped. But I love the O'Hallorans. But can you imagine if they had 2 months of paid leave? That means that they would not work 2 months out of every year for 30 straight years, but they get paid for it. Who came up with this? Oh, the teachers union approves of it. Well, now. Says the article from Alabama Daily News, which is not always super conservative, says several neighboring states, including Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee, have added paid parental leave. Did they add 2 months? Listen, I think this is extreme. I think this is a step too far. I think this is a step way too far. Representative Debbie Wood, Republican from down in Valley, which is down near Auburn, said that basically she was surprised to hear that they can't recruit teachers as much. And I'm like, come on. If you're telling me that you don't want to teach in your hometown because you need 2 months of parental leave, of maternity leave. Now, Ivy said she is working with Democrat Senator Vivian Figures and Republican Representative Jenny Shaver to try and bring the bill. I know Jenny. I know both of them. I know them both fairly well, and I'm thinking, no. How about this? Now, Senator Arthur Orr is the person who's in charge of the education budget. He thinks this is a good idea, or to some degree thinks we ought to at least address it. I'm not sure if Arthur is saying that like, I look forward to the bill coming to the floor, or if he's saying, we'll talk. All I know is this: 2 months of paid leave for state employees, including teachers. 2 months? For the love.
Maybe they're not able to recruit teachers because teachers can't discipline kids anymore. Maybe it has nothing to do with maternal leave. That would be my guess.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe we're also just sucking up to the teachers union, trying to throw them a bone so they'll leave us alone on other stuff.
Maybe that's it too.
Maybe that's it too. All right, listen, we'll take a break. We'll take the last break of the day here on Taco Tuesday. We'll come right back. I'll catch up on text messages and wrap the day. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Just pulling pins on truth grenades. All right, so I'm going to take a bunch of text messages here and get those caught up for the day's over. I'll remind you guys also that of all the podcasts and things that we do, one of them is mine. I film it from my house in my study at home. It's in the can right now. It's going to be published tomorrow. So the latest edition of the Right Philosophy video podcast will be posted tomorrow. You can find it on our YouTube channel. You can find it on our social media platforms. You can also find it on our website, rightsidemedia.org. So check it all out. All our stuff out there for you, man. All our stuff. We got some. I'm just really proud of where we're going right now. We got some good things going on. And for those of y'all that are now streaming on Facebook, we thank you for that. I have received my Facebook account back from some kind of Facebook purgatory. Haven't had it in a couple of years. Good job. Yeah, I mean, it like literally we were locked out for a couple of years at least. And I don't know what happened, but the other day I was talking to JP and I said, I had a Facebook account, it had thousands and thousands of followers. It would be nice if we could use it. And he logged in, he goes, is this it? And I was like, there it is. We could see it, but we couldn't get into it. Well, we just got into it. So some of y'all are streaming. I will say this. For those of y'all that are adding commentary, thank you so much on the Facebook page. I'm not yet able to reply. We're getting it together.
Baby steps.
Baby steps, y'all. Baby steps. Work with me. But anyway, thank y'all very much. Mike from Florence, Alabama says, yeah, that would teach the kids that in addition to summer months, they could have a child and get 2 more months off for a total of 5 months a year. Whew, thus encouraging them to become teachers so we don't have teacher shortages in the future, except that it has now become highly likely a student will have at least one substitute teacher every day. Yeah, wow. Mike, you're doing the math, brother. This is a bad idea. I mean, if you want to talk about how to make it competitive, okay. 2 months? No. Nothing takes 2 months, by the way. Nothing. Nothing. What else we got? I got David from Bucky's again. He says, maybe teachers should plan their pregnancy so they'll have their babies during the summer break. Good luck with that. I think they'll probably time them so they have them in like September. Grady from Arley, Alabama says, well, then a teacher could be off over the summer and 2 additional months. What a deal. I know. I'm saying. Brian from Huntsville says, red flag laws in divorce might be to see who gets the gun collection. There is that. And there's one I know of right now that has maybe $1 million gun collection that they actually were ordered to bring all the firearms into the courtroom and display them. And they had to hire an expert to go through them and to value them. And y'all, I'm not talking about normal stuff. I'm talking about like high dollar, collectible, NFA Firearms Act protected weapons. Anyway, Jim from Gunnersville, Alabama says, every time you mention Governor Ivey, I think, who? Oh, wow. It's brutal. Harry from Madison says, okay, what is this? Do I have a...
Read the text above it.
Oh, the text above it. Okay, he sends me a YouTube link, which I haven't got a chance to look at yet.
Well, the one below it.
And the one below that says, by the way, my wife was 2 years behind you at Grissom High School, class of 85. How about that? And now I see her name. He says, please don't say it on the air. She would kill me. Well, I'll say her first name. It was Kim. Kim, shout out to you. Grissom class of 83, calling out Grissom class of 85. And hey, Harry, thanks for letting me know. Flip from Priceville, Alabama says, Pam, I assume he means Bondi because it says Pam Blonde.
That one would work too, though.
It would have.
Yeah.
Pam Bondi said that they find criminal illegals and then find more illegal aliens associated with them. Yeah, that happens all the time. So one of the things that's happening out in like Sanctuary City, Los Angeles or Sanctuary City, Chicago, is if the locals will arrest somebody on a criminal charge and then determine that they are illegal and hold them on a detainer and allow ICE to come get them at the jail, then ICE won't have to do raids on job sites and ICE won't have to do raids on, because right now their intent is to gather up all the criminal illegal aliens. But what's happening is because sanctuary cities are doing what they're doing, ICE has no choice, FBI, all the rest of them have no choice but to basically do sweeps. And they scarf up all kinds of people when that happens. It's what happens. Mike from Coxie, Alabama says, I always suspected Kirk Cameron was a right side ruffian. We need to get him a t-shirt. He deserves a T-shirt.
There you go.
I'm thinking. Yes, absolutely. Jim from Athens says, go back to the Oprah interview. Oprah? What's Oprah? Oprah interview. She loved Trump. Yes, no doubt. Back in the day. Yeah, way back in the day. And then Pastor Barnes from Hartselle, Alabama says, remember what President Trump said for the military to do to Iran if he were to be assassinated? Well, I believe this same response is required for the death of any U.S. citizen at the hands of a foreign government or a terrorist. What say you? And then he quotes Deuteronomy 2:34, that basically that all the cities at that time utterly destroyed the men, the women, and the little ones of every city. We left none to remain. So he's in a salt the earth and raise the ground attitude. Pastor Barnes, preaching it hard. All right, listen. You guys are an amazing audience. I'm pretty stoked about how many of y'all are doing things like supporting us through buying merchandise, listening to us on various platforms. Thank you again for texting in on a regular basis. This show exists because of y'all. I mean, we could sit here every single day, JP and I, and just talk into a can, and what good would it do? Nothing. It's because y'all are out there. We do it every single day. We do what I call the mission and the message, that every single day we're going to say that Jesus is Lord, America is great, Alabama is beautiful, life is worth living. So, yeah, that's it. I'm telling you right now. And don't forget, by the way, there are more of us than there are of them. God is still on his throne. Stay in the fight. We'll see you tomorrow.